Hey everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosa and host of Vancouver Island Time. Today I'm here with...
Hey everybody, it's Andrew Plank with LePage. Nice to be here yet again. Hey Jane, how was your week?
Good. How did you get on that side of the screen?
Jane, you're in charge of the screen, so you're asking yourself that question.
There we go.
Wait, that's way better. Yeah, now I feel like I'm looking at you instead of...
Okay, so how was your weekend?
Good weekend, yeah. A little bit of downtime. Got to Costco. Man, it was a zoo. And then held an open house. Not super well attended. You know, COVID is an interesting time with open houses, but with the openings somewhat, clients are asking for them a little bit more. And running around with showings for folks. There was a second showing. We're writing an offer tonight on a place. So we'll be competing. It's going to be interesting. So been strategizing, spending many, actually a long time I find is in the conversations with clients talking about offer strategy and gaming the system, trying to figure out and anticipate what's going to happen. So that's a bit of what we're talking about today, isn't it?
Yes, Andrew, nice segue. But first, let's do the statistics.
Yeah, why don't we?
You want to hear how my week went?
No.
So I'm finding that I had 2 offers on 2 different properties, and they are with conditions. So yes, that's a change from February when we were offering way over ask with no conditions. So the market is tending to, I'm finding, to be a bit more reasonable. And there are like you'll see today in our list to sale ratio, we're still in a very active market. It's been that way. I've been watching it for the past few weeks. Yep. So it's very, very busy. So hopefully it will stay busy, but not crazy, because we want to be productive and help people. We don't want them to overspend.
It's hard to be. Yeah, right.
I'll start with the top part. You can do the second part. Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so we're looking Monday, September 27th. So we're near the month end. Net unconditional sales for the total month this year so far is 650. That's compared to 989 last year. And that was pretty much a record last year, I believe. New listings, 837. That's less than 1,294. And I don't expect us to meet last year's September record. Or numbers. Active listings, 1,166. And last year we had 2,389, which didn't seem like much.
No, not then. And now we're past that. Yeah, and 1166. So we've been hovering around 1,200. Now we're down 1166. It seems like we are getting less and less inventory. And as we go closer to December, those numbers are going to go way down as people choose to wait till the spring. So market watch. So what's happened in the last week? We've had 200 new listings go live on the MLS, and we've had 203 listings from the active listings pool go into unconditional pending status. 38 properties have decreased in price, while 16 properties increased in price. That's always an interesting one to say, why do people increase their prices? But sometimes we talk about this a number of times, but either agents sometimes actually input these things in error. They put 100,000 instead of $1 million, or sometimes they list a property for sale, hold off offers, and then they get offers. But as Jane was referring to, sometimes they're conditional, and it goes way above asking price on the accepted offer. And then when the offer maybe doesn't go forward and falls apart, they then increase their price to try to get people back to the table without taking the first offer that comes along at their original price, knowing they had perhaps 5 or even 10 offers well above asking. One property back on market, and then 118 just ended up being conveyed in that week period.
Do you tend to do the back on market thing, off market, back on market? I don't do that.
Properties back on market. You mean in terms of when we do this, do we skip over that? I mean, it just means that somebody's taken it off market, and then, or do I do that, like as a listing strategy? So what Jane's referring to is rather than do sometimes a number of price decreases, which will show up in the hot sheets as a price change, taking a property right off market by canceling or expiring the listing early, and then relisting it much earlier than we anticipated. I do think
this one is where you actually you can actually take it off market. So it'll show up to realtors as a different color. It's usually like a light blue color. And then when it comes back on the market, like usually people would do it because they want to keep the listing active. Mm-hmm. And then maybe they're doing repairs to the house.
Right. Okay. So so the off market piece is where we're taking it off the MLS, active public MLS advertising. Yeah. Because maybe there's something personal going on in their lives. The baby has come. They need a couple weeks off, but they actually want to keep the property for sale, but they don't want showings for a few weeks. So let's just take it off market. That's kind of thing. Yeah, it's rare to see it, sort of the off market thing. You do see more expireds and withdrawals.
Yeah, and actually, it's an important thing to note. Yeah, because when you have your property listed on MLS, you're actually not allowed to withhold showings. Just so you guys know. And the reason for that is because the MLS was created to create equality between agents so that there wouldn't be in-house deals.
It's a cooperative system, and it's supposed to create a system where we all are, absolutely cooperating together. And what we see sometimes is a property listed for sale, and so it's advertised on the market, and yet it says no showings for the next 3 days or something like that. First showings start Friday, and the property lists Tuesday or something like that. So not really allowed according to our rules. It does happen. And sometimes there's legitimate reasons for that. You had the listing signed, contract is signed, something comes up again in their personal life, but technically offside.
Right. And then where it happens maybe is in a rental.
Yes, that's an often one.
Okay. So one word for the market?
A one-word description for the market?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Hot.
Tight. Yeah. What did you say? Hot?
Yeah.
I said tight. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about obviously we're working a lot with buyers these days. And I said to a buyer last week, stop thinking like a buyer. Think like the seller.
Right.
And so what I meant by that was, the buyer is always thinking, what's in it for me? So is the seller. You need to put yourself in the seller's shoes, because the seller wants highest and best price. They want their dates. They want a large deposit. They want no conditions. They want it to be assured, right? Yeah.
And I would say that in addition to that, don't think like the buyer, think like the seller. There's some games theory to this. What's the math of how all this works? If somebody else does this, what's the consequence to me and my clients? So not only are you thinking about the other seller, you're thinking about the other buyers too, and trying to anticipate what they are thinking at the same time. And I'm working with a lot of buyers. When I said tight, that's wearing, and you say hot. It's both of that, but from a seller's perspective, it's not tight, but from a buyer's perspective, and I personally am collecting a lot of buyers, because in a more traditional market, my buyers would come in, I show them a number of properties, we would find something successfully, and then they would be moving in to their home. But as it is, buyers seem to be sort of piling up, you might say, as we find that their inventory is so tight, there's not enough selection. People are not really as interested in some of these properties, or the property prices are higher than they want to pay. So collecting buyers. But yeah, what are the other buyers going to be doing? What is the seller thinking of? Important things to consider, and sort of try to game out and anticipate what could be happening here when you're making an offer.
So what Andrew is describing is called pent-up demand.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you're working with a buyer, what you can do is, as you're showing the property, you can start to counsel them on, if you like this property, do you want this in? Do you want that in? Do you want this removed? Like, what do we do about the junk in the backyard? And this is all from the buyer perspective. From the seller perspective, it's like, how do I make it easy for the seller to accept this offer? So let's say it is an end of life sale. Somebody has moved, either it's an estate sale and the kids are taking care of it and there's furniture left in the house and there aren't stickers on it that are labeling people to take it. And, you know, one thing you can say as a buyer agent is, do they want to just leave the furniture?
These are questions we can ask to try to, you know, get information from the listing agent and get a sense of what these sellers are looking for. And then furthermore, we can just anticipate, because we've seen these scenarios happen many times, that it probably would make the sellers' lives easier if we said, you know what, we'll take what's there, take it or leave it at closing day. We'll take on the responsibility for dealing with the junk or what have you. And that's not really exciting for us, for a buyer to hear. But when the buyer says to, you know, says, hey, Jane, what is it that I have to do to get this property? Because I really, really want it. And, you know, we're going to counsel a number of different options available to, and some of them are outside the box. And we want to try to anticipate, again, what's the seller's world looking like?
Yeah, and I just want to say that this isn't always going to be like this, you guys. So there are going to be situations where we have sellers who are desperate to sell, and they'll do stuff as well. Like, for instance, I had a seller for my buyer, let my buyer rent for a week to see if they like the house.
Right. Yeah.
So
I've had buyers ask if they could have an overnight in the house before to see what the sounds are like and, you know, what's it feel like to be in this space. It didn't happen. We didn't do that. But in a buyer's market, those are the kind of questions you get asked. But in this kind of market, you know, and what we're dealing with right now, we're really trying to anticipate, you know, who are these people that we are making an offer to, and what are they going to be considering? But how do we make an offer and not pay too much? That's the question I'm always asked, because there's a lot of blind bidding going on right now. There's a lot of offers where, yeah, it is, isn't it, Meredith? Yeah.
Yeah, so what you want to do is try and make your offer as appealing, and it's going to be unique. And so the question I get asked all the time is, what do you think it's going to go for?
Yep.
Well, so my first answer is, it depends on how many buyers there are, because if we have a list price, let's say average list price right now is $1 million, which is crazy. And so you're the only buyer on the table, and I've had that happen. So do you offer $1 million? Maybe a little less.
Yeah. I mean, why not offer a little less if you're the only person at the table, with keeping in mind that you might be not the only person at the table after your offer is written and submitted. And if your offer is so low that it's insulting or considered insulting, even if you improve your offer to be, you know, the best offer but similar to someone else, you may find that the seller says, no, I don't want to deal with these people. So there's a lot of emotion in buying and selling a home, and so we again try to anticipate all of that. But the real, you know, Jane, we were talking, we reviewed the statistics. One of the things I do pretty regularly is look at the hot sheets. I really like to see the hot sheets are, you know, all the listings that have come up live, all of the listings that have gone pending and sold, all of the listings that have expired, price changes. And I like to see, you know, how many price changes there are versus, which is what we do weekly with this show as well. But I also like to see how many properties are selling in different categories above asking price, at asking price, and below asking price, and get you know, the feel for watching kind of like the stock ticker of the market. And what's interesting is, despite the really, really low inventory, I'm not seeing a lot of properties going way, way above asking. On average, I'm seeing a lot of properties selling just kind of close to asking. But that's not to say that if someone lists their home well under its value, that it's not going to go for 100 or 200 above asking now. But again, question asked, what is it going to sell for? And, you know, for myself, I want my clients to offer as much as possible and reasonable that they want to pay to get it, without offering, $50,000 above what they needed to pay to get it, yeah.
So I'm going to show you what I do with my clients. So I have done this report. I do this report.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hold on a second. I have to have it as a separate tab. So, you want to try and make this a logical decision. So what Andrew was saying is totally right, that people are very statistical, but you want to make it logical. And the reason why is because then they're going to be happy with the offer. Nobody wants to be forced to submit an offer higher than they want to or need to. So what I do is I go through, so this is a very simple, like 2-second market analysis, but I look and see where the current and pending is. And so you could see the list price is here, the sale price is here, and then you could see like there's going to be hot parts of the market where things are selling. This is just in the past few days. These are single family homes in Victoria. So there is some inventory there, but and you can see there are like 849 is kind of a hot number. Around $1 million is a hot number. These are the pending listings and sold listings just in the past 30 days. So when somebody says, okay, I'm looking at a house at 850, what do you think it'll go for? We're looking at everything else. We've probably looked at that house. We know the condition of that house, and we're seeing, well, if nobody else offers, we could go 840, but here's another one that was at 876. So that can provide us with a range of where the market is at, because all of those people who are offering, who have been looking at houses in the last 30 days, they're looking at the same statistics. Do you do that?
And they're looking at the same houses. What I do is I try to do it a focus based on the type of property they're looking at, the area they're looking at, and I'll pull maybe not a month, but I'll pull 3 months. But we'll talk about the stats, but we'll do a little more focused in terms of the style of the type of property that they're looking at. But we'll also look at one of the things I do when I'm either working with sellers and when we're working on pricing their home, or I'm working with buyers to make an offer is we play a little game of, if I had, let's say for using your example, $840,000 or $850,000, what could I buy with that money right now? And how does it compare to what we're looking at to make an offer on or to list? And if we're finding that, and not every home's equal. So we're not talking about a comparable market analysis as such to say, this is a home with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths in this particular neighborhood of this particular age. We're saying, if you have a family need for a home, it might be that we're looking at a home of a very different age or maybe a slightly different size, but we're gonna say, what's the value of this home versus these other ones? And you get, this is a science and an art, but you get the feeling for what is reasonable to pay for that home. And then you think, okay, well, the market's been going up since these sales, so maybe we have to pad this a little bit in order to be competitive. And what's the probability? I like to talk in sorry, Jane. I like to talk in probabilities. So when I do this list and when I'm talking with people about their offers, if they want to offer 100,000 above asking, do they have a 100% chance of getting that listing? No, they're probably 95% chance they're going to get it. If they're offering around market value, they may not even have a 50-50 chance of getting it because there might be 5 other people offering around market value.
So I pulled up a more refined market analysis. So this is what I go through with my clients. So you can see there are 3 properties. I've put the addresses to the side because people don't need to know that. But there's 3 properties listed at $1 million. They're listed there very specifically because people look either up to $1 million or they look $1 million and over. And so the realtor is just being tactical.
Yeah.
But you can see some properties here. So when what we will have done is probably viewed these properties. We could also look at them, the virtual tours online, look at the floor plans and see, because sometimes layout is going to attract people. Things like garages, which we don't see on this data. We see what 1 and 2 kitchens, how many bathrooms and bedrooms and stuff like that. Right. But we're seeing, 1.2 to 1.14, 1.2 to 1.4, 1.2 to 1.4, 1.3 to 1.4, 1.395. So we're seeing the market. It's interesting. Like if I were to work with a seller, I would say, you know, the market's hesitating around 1.4 million,
Yep.
but you're actually more likely to get 1.4 million if you're listing at 1.2 something. So, and then we would look at the square footage and the finishings. As a buyer, I'm going to say, okay, so they've listed it here because they're anticipating they're
Right.
going to get in this, and this is what everybody else is paying. So just understand that you're probably going to pay more than asking.
Right, and getting people's heads around what is the value of a home is really important, because people say, "Oh, I don't want to pay more than they're asking." It's not. This isn't science where we know as realtors and the seller knows as the seller the exact value of that home. So, so when somebody lists their home for $1 million or 1.2 million, and somebody says, "Well, I don't want to pay above their asking. That's way too much," or "I don't want to pay above assessed value. That's way too much." No, it's worth what the market's going to be willing to bear. So the other question around looking at these homes is, okay, you know, you're looking at homes that are 1.2 million. We're seeing them sell for 1.4 million quite often. We see some properties listing at $1 million and selling for 1.2 million. We see other properties listing at 1.2 and selling for 1.2. There's a category, there's a certain value and quality of home you're going to find at these different price points. So what's the probability that if we offer this, we're going to get it? But what's the probability of us finding a different one if we keep looking? Right. You know, what's the value of actually just buying this home today because this is the one that works for you? And is there some benefit to paying even, you know, are you going to be offering under what other people tend to offer and just keep hoping that if you keep swinging, you're going to eventually hit something? Probably not in this market. If you swing a little bit harder and more aggressively at every ball coming at you, you're probably going to eventually hit something.
So Roy is saying, I think it's more of getting into the market before the next set of government programs push what the market is able to pay higher. That
was in response to a prior question. Let's just.
What do you think the CMHC is going to do? What do you think will be the CMHC going from 1.1 to 1.25 million due to the limits?
Jane.
I don't know what that says.
Let's go. Okay, so CMHC, the Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation, is there's some talk about them raising their limit for insured mortgages from $1 million to 1.25. Right?
I'm blushing. Sorry, Rory.
You massacred that. Jane is, yeah, you did, but it was just surprising because Jane is normally not going to do that.
Unflappable.
Unflappable.
Okay, well, I will say, the CMHC, if anything, they're going to try and make things more affordable, so they'll penalize you. I think what they're trying to do actually is when they so over $1 million now, you can't get CMHC financing,
which means you need a 20% down payment, as opposed to 5 or 10% down, up to 20.
Well, you can't get absolutely. It's okay, Roy. He's trying to work and listen. Okay, so over $1 million, you have to have 20% down, and as such, it doesn't work for CMHC. And what's happened is now in certain parts of the country, and we're only a minor part of the country, the average price has gone up over $1 million. So Roy's asking, is this going to affect CMHC? And what were you saying, Andrew?
I think the question was, what's that going to do for the market as well? And what I've found over the years is government does like to come in and try to solve problems in real estate, and we can never really know the end effect of it. And they're all part of an overall picture. They all, it may be that there's some changes in provincial legislation. There may be, along with the CMHC change, there might be some other legislation. So it's really hard to anticipate where it's going to go. All things being equal, there's pressure on the government to make more housing available and make it easier for people to get into the market. So if we, yeah, go ahead, Jane.
So before there were tax incentives for people if they bought under, when we were getting into the market, under 425 to 450, and then that number increased. And so now what happens is these really do affect how properties are listed. But what you don't realize is that in new constructions, there's kind of like a bait and switch tactic that goes on with some developers. So they may list at 749 so that you still qualify for the rebate, the GST rebate. But in that case, it's plus, the price is plus GST. And sometimes it's like 801 plus GST or 799 plus GST. So you're paying an extra 5%, or you don't have to pay property transfer tax on a certain amount. Like there are all these little rules that come into effect, and and when we're pricing a property, we're going to look at it in total, how we can get the most amount of buyers in for a developer. But as a buyer agent, we are looking in to see what all these little rules do to affect our clients. So for instance, somebody who is going to list at $999, the reason why they're going to do that is because they just are going to reach way more people than they are at $1,000,001. Right. But anyway, let's get back to the topic.
Yeah.
Buyers.
What was the topic again?
The thing is what do buyers need to do? Buyers need to make their offer as palatable as possible for the seller. And so sometimes you can do that by doing your inspection ahead of time. And sometimes you can do that by doing your market analysis, really looking at your data ahead of time, getting your financing in order ahead of time, talk to your mortgage broker, see what you can qualify to buy so that you go in feeling really confident.
Yeah, Jane, I would say one of the things that I find is a big source of friction with buyers is them not being prepared. What?
Yes.
Yeah. So always counseling to, be in good communication with your lender, be in communication with your partner, figure out that, what page you're on about what you're trying to buy together, be in good communication with your realtor, let them know what you're looking for and if anything changes. And then when it comes time to make an offer, ask those questions and anticipate the problems and the concerns that you personally are going to have as a buyer, so that your agent, so you and your agent can try to solve and anticipate and cover all those things in advance. So when you make your offer, both you're protecting your interests, but you're also making your offer as clean as possible so that your concerns aren't the seller's concerns. Because the seller in this market, you don't want the seller to be thinking, this person is concerned about X, Y, and Z, but these other people aren't. And this person could have figured that out. Or their problems aren't my problems.
In Canada, it's X, Y, and Z, right, Meredith? Not X, Y, and Z. She's from Las Vegas. But I agree. And I think that a lot of people want to buy before they're prepared. And I now, because of COVID, I won't show properties to people generally who have to sell in order to buy until they've had their talk with their lender and we've done a market analysis on their house. And so the question is, do you sell first or buy first?
Are you asking me?
Well, it all depends on the person, right?
Yeah. It depends on their financial position. Can they actually afford to buy something else without selling? Is their home really quite saleable?
And the answer is usually no. Like, no, they can't afford to buy. Yes, it probably is saleable if it's priced.
Yeah. Yeah. But are they willing to sell their home before they found something? And really, when the market is traditionally like so tight that even if you could find that the choice of properties is really low. So you may not even find the property you're looking for in the span of time between when your home has been sold and you have to give the keys to the new owner.
And what I find is a lot of people go, well, I don't know where I want to live, and so I don't want to put my house on the market. And other people go, That was my doorbell, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get that. Hold on a second.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know what we're just got distracted by the doorbell, but yeah, when it comes to preparing your offer and just making it as attractive as possible, it is really frustrating as an agent to feel like you're rolling over and showing your soft underbelly all the time, to say, you know, how can we make this offer as attractive as possible to the seller? And so in order to avoid that, in order not to do that, you're going to want to try to really understand how to protect your clients at the same time as make an offer, again, that the seller is going to look at. So the thing to do is craft a tight offer that protects your clients and yet doesn't create flags for the seller. And we can do that. Jane and I are both good at that.
Yeah, I missed that, but anyway.
Was it a salesperson?
Pardon?
Was it a salesperson, or have you joined a new religion, or?
No, we're getting railings put on our deck, so we're just getting them measured.
Okay.
Okay, but I just want to say that often people come to me. I had somebody come like a few months ago where, you know, they're really excited to see properties, and then when we actually go, you get disappointed when you see a property and you're not ready to go. And really what we're trying to do, honestly, is prevent you from going through an emotional roller coaster and protecting your interests. So when we say you need to go talk to your mortgage broker or your lender before you come and view properties, it's because we really want to make sure that you don't go through the up and down. And often also people come in, they have a pie in the sky idea of what they can afford. And then when they get down to reality, it's a little, it's not accurate. So we really want you to, you know, go in eyes wide open, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right now it's a market where it's really easy to find buyers and hard to find sellers. In a market where it's hard to find buyers and easier to find sellers, sometimes I remember when I was a younger agent, being a little less picky about ensuring that they had all their ducks in a row. And I've learned over the years, regardless, it's still very important. But in this market, it's all the more important because, you know, Jane and I, we both really care about our clients, and we are working with really great buyers out there. When we take on a new buyer, that takes us somewhat away from the other buyers that we have. We need to ensure that those buyers that we're working with are working in the price point that they've said they were going to be working in, that they are already willing and able to do something, because it's not fair to our clients to take on people who are tire kicking right now, when we need to be focused and attentive on finding that needle in a haystack right now for our current clients. Yeah. So I'm starting to have those conversations with buyers as well when they say, you know, I'm looking for something, I'm looking for an agent. Okay, well, what are you looking for, and how, you know, what's your capacity to buy and what's your capacity for risk?
And sometimes people say, well, I want to write an offer subject to sale of my own property. Mm-hmm. And it really, as a listing agent, I will tell you, it really depends on who the agent is, who's bringing the offer. Do they have a reputation for being a listing agent and getting things done? Are you going to list it in a timely manner? Are you going to list it at a reasonable price? Because if you write an offer subject to sale and the pricing is out of line with the market, it's not going to sell. It doesn't matter how hot the market is. So those are really what I consider also a non-offer, because they have a clause in them that another buyer can come and shoot your offer off. Like
if you write an offer conditional on sale of your home, and you know, in this marketplace, unfortunately, even if you get that offer accepted and can talk the seller into accepting that offer, somebody else can come along behind you and make another offer on that same property. And as long as that other offer goes unconditional, the seller has the right to come back to you and say, look, you've got 24 or 48 hours or 72 hours to make a decision to go forward and remove all your conditions, including the condition on sale, or walk away.
And so, last year I had clients who were like that. They're like, we only want to buy this one property, and we have to sell in order to buy. Right. And we wrote an offer subject to sale, and it was funny because I showed them the property before it had gone on the market, and it was a unique property. And I'm like, okay, well, let's write the offer like before anybody else knows about this house. And and sometimes, you know, I could have gotten it to work, but they thought about it for like 5 days, and then it went on the market. And so they're like, okay, well, we're going to write. And then we had to write subject to sale. I had listed their property. This is where like realtors are taking the risk for you guys. So I did all the marketing. I did a video. I did the floor plan, the photos. I did all the social media. We got it up and going, and another buyer came in. We'll just buy it. And so pardon? Yeah.
Here's the cash. We'll take it. And then your sellers, your buyer's sellers needed to make a decision, which was, and it's a risky decision. Do they go ahead and say, okay, well, we'll buy it anyway, because they're still in the primary position, and then they're under the gun to sell their home? And it sounds like you probably didn't take that. No.
But funny enough, I was at a lake this summer, and I met this lady, and she's like, "Oh, I was the buyer of that property."
No.
Kill her. I was like, anyway, she goes, "I love it." And all the plans that my clients had, these clients had the same. These buyers had the same plan. So, you know, it was a unique property, unique buyer. And anyway.
So this is where, yes, if it wasn't yet on the market, it's safer for them to take an offer subject to sale, because it's not sitting on market, waiting the outcome of the sale. It's not showing, you know, another day on market, another day on market, another day on market. Because if you don't end up selling your home, they've listed their home and it shows it's been advertised but unavailable for 2 weeks or more. And buyers will have kind of moved on. So
you are Meredith is asking, are you able to bridge loans for these type of contingency sales and purchase? You are, if they have enough equity in the house and they're able to finance both, but it depends on the personality of the person.
Yeah, not everybody's willing to take those risks. I would say too, you know, again, putting that idea of like wearing the hat of the buyer or seller. Sometimes you can make an offer that's subject to sale and not have the, what we call the time clause, where you've got the 72 hours or what have you. We can cross that clause off and make an offer that's not got that time clause. Maybe we have subject to sale of this home in a 2-week period, and it can't be triggered or jumped by somebody else. In order to get that accepted, though, the seller has to see something in compensation for that, whether it's a higher price point or a non-refundable deposit, something. And this is where we can get creative. We talk to our clients and try to get a little creative. What's the problem that we're trying to solve? And what is the seller going to be? What can we do to entice the seller to overcome it?
And sometimes, so if you're going to write an offer subject to sale, so let's say the property is priced at $900,000 and you write an offer subject to sale, you want to write an offer, a really good offer, so that if a second offer comes in, the seller still wants to stick with your offer. So you're going to you're going to offer them consideration for the fact that you're going to be offering the backup. You're going to be offering them the primary offer.
Right. If another offer comes in to try to push you out, it has to be a good enough offer to push you out. And your offer, conversely, your offer has to be high enough to not get pushed out. So one way or another, it costs you to, it can cost you to make the subject to sale offer, because you're under the gun to both buy this place and make it the incentive. And then once your offer is accepted, you're under the gun to sell your home in a quick time frame. So you lose on both sides doing a subject to sale offer, as opposed to around.
You're more likely to sell lower if you have a subject to sale offer on your own property because you have a higher level of motivation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I also just want to say one thing. Walking in the park on the weekend, and there were 5 ladies, and one of them says, "How's the sale of your house going?" And I'm like, and she's like, "Well, we got 2 offers, blah, blah, blah." Anyway, she proceeded to tell them everything. And I'm like, I could be the agent with that offer. I could have been like really, you have to be discreet.
Small world out there here in Victoria. I am writing an offer today on a property. So I've written offers before where we will sometimes look up on social media, who are these sellers or who are these buyers? And then you will see sometimes some posts by these people on their social media, on their public social media saying, X, Y, and Z.
I'm so stressed.
Yeah, I'm so stressed, or I'm so excited, or, you find out why people are selling, or you find out that they're, you can find out a lot, and it's scary and sad. Don't post your information publicly. Don't tell all your friends what you're doing, because there's a really good chance in Victoria, they say there's, was it 6 points of separation to anyone in the world? Somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and you can connect yourself to anybody else in the world with, I think it was 6 points.
6 degrees.
6 degrees of separation. In Victoria, it's probably 2, maybe 3.
Oh my God, it's way less. It's like 1.
1 degree of separation. I mean, everybody.
Yeah, and it really. So I have. So what I do is I actually monitor my clients' posts when we get listed, and I'll say, "Hey, you might want to take that down because, you're giving this." Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. So you're giving away your motivation.
You're giving away information, and information can color what people's perception is of you. And if they do get that information, it may impact their I'm making an offer on a place today, really excited. I just hope that it passes the inspection.
Yeah.
I'm the seller seeing that, and I'm like, okay, so they're not too confident about this house.
Well, also, also as a, I don't tend to do it as an agent, but I find my clients do it. So they'll go in and check all the social media about who you are. And it's a bit invasive, actually. And for that reason, actually, I don't put people's addresses on contracts. And an agent on the weekend told me, well, you have to put it on, otherwise it's not a contract. I'm like,
that's not true.
It's a, she said that she felt that it would be a counteroffer if I added it in later. And I'm like, I really don't want, I think, I found people Google the address and then they see what it sold for and blah, blah, blah.
We learned back years ago in real estate school, the elements of a contract. And the elements of a contract don't include address. You need consideration, you need parties to the contract, you need legality, but you don't need an address. So it can help with data entry. It can help with ensuring that you are dealing with, if you're dealing with John Smith as the seller, having an address can be helpful. If there's a few John Smiths in the local area, but no, I wouldn't agree with that. That gets into the minutiae of offers. I mean, numbering all the pages of a contract and having them initialed versus not, and so on and so forth. It's like, what is enforceable? But the point is about an enforceable contract. If somebody wants to get out of a contract, they will try to find a way. So we do want to write as good an offer as possible right off the bat, and we want to try and write an offer that doesn't have to get countered or corrected.
Right.
Yeah. So that's some of the subtlety, but it's important to do it right.
Okay. So let's just wrap up here. What we need to do is you need to talk to your mortgage broker before you write an offer. Your realtor will familiarize you with the market before you write an offer with the market analysis so that you can come up with a way of determining the right price to offer without overpaying, and try and make it the offer right now in this market anyway as palatable as possible to the seller, right?
Yeah, just anticipate you're not the only one at the table. So making sure that your offer is the purple cow, is the one that stands out in the field, right?
Please.
Yeah, yeah. Communicate with the list. Anyway, we've said this so many times before, but Jane and I both will. We know what we're doing. We can make sure that we can't make every offer win, because it depends on a lot of times on the buyer and the personality of the seller and the other offers. But we can do everything we can to stack the cards in your favor.
Right. So I just want to say, everybody, if you want to reach our fabulous realtor, Andrew, how do they get in touch with you, darling?
Oh, well, thank you, madame. You can reach me at, I can't do this. I can't do accents right now. Andrew Plank, 250-360-6106, or info@andrewplank.com, or come check out my website, andrewplank.com. Jane, how do we reach you?
He's also on Instagram as Plank Andrew, which is as a result of us going to a course very early on in real estate where somebody called him Plank Andrew, right?
I think that was it. I don't remember. It's so long ago. How do we reach you, Jane?
If you want to reach me, I'm a Scottish gal, Jane Johnston, 250-744-0775, or you can email me at briarhillgroup@gmail.com. You can visit my site at Briar Hill Group, or you can go to VancouverIsland.com, and you can watch all of these freaking things over and over again. That was really bad.
You're talking about, I'm going to bring up that thing you were showing me earlier.
Oh,
you had a great one there. Oh my God, so good.
This is my Welsh side. So you guys, I dare you to post on my page how you say the longest word in the world. And here it is. Go, go, go. I'm going to go send that to my aunt and see if I said it right.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, have a great day. Bye.
Bye, everybody.